Hey guys, welcome to Medifaction. So today we're going to learn about the physiology of anterior pituitary gland. Anterior pituitary is like a major organ of the endocrine system. The anterior pituitary is also called adenohypophysis or pars anterior. When it combines with the posterior pituitary, we collectively call it as the pituitary gland. So in order to know more about it, let's get started. So in this video, I'm going to enumerate an introduction about the anterior pituitary gland, followed by divisions of pituitary gland. Then we are going to learn about the regulation of secretion, and we're going to go in detail with anterior pituitary glands parts, regulation of secretion of anterior pituitary, then hormones secreted by it. And we're going to learn about the growth hormone, its actions, mode of action, somatomedin, growth hormone receptor, regulation of secretin, and some other hormones secreted by the anterior pituitary. And finally, we're going to learn about some important applied physiology due to the hyper and hypoactivity of the anterior pituitary. Let's get started. Introduction. Pituitary gland or hypophysis is a small endocrine gland with a diameter of 1 cm and weight of 0.5 to 1 gram. It is situated in a depression called sella turcica, present in the sphenoid bone at the base of skull. It is connected with hypothalamus by the pituitary stalk or hypophyseal stalk. Divisions of pituitary gland. Pituitary gland is divided into two divisions: anterior pituitary or adenohypophysis, posterior pituitary or neurohypophysis. Both the divisions are situated close to each other. Still, both are entirely different in their development, structure, and function. Between the two divisions, there is a small and relatively avascular structure called pars intermedia. Actually, it forms a part of anterior pituitary. Regulation of secretion. Hypothalamo-hypophyseal relationship. The relationship between hypothalamus and pituitary gland is called hypothalamo-hypophyseal relationship. Hormones secreted by hypothalamus are transported to anterior pituitary and posterior pituitary, but the mode of transport of these hormones is different. Hormones from hypothalamus are transported to anterior pituitary through hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal blood vessels, but the hormones from hypothalamus to posterior pituitary are transported by nerve fibers of hypothalamo-hypophyseal tract. Now let's learn about anterior pituitary or adenohypophysis. Anterior pituitary is also known as the master gland because it regulates many other endocrine glands through its hormones. The parts consist of pars distalis, pars tuberalis, and pars intermedia. This one here is the pars intermedia. This is called pars distalis, and this is the pars tuberalis of anterior pituitary. Regulation of anterior pituitary secretion. Hypothalamus controls anterior pituitary by secreting the releasing and inhibitory hormones factors, which are called neurohormones. These hormones from hypothalamus are transported to anterior pituitary through hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal vessels. Some special nerve cells present in various parts hypothalamus send their nerve fibers, that is axons, to median eminence and tuber cinereum. These nerve cells synthesize the hormone and release them into median eminence and tuber cinereum. From here, the hormones are transported by blood via hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal vessels to anterior pituitary. Releasing and inhibitory hormones secreted by hypothalamus. Number 1 is the growth hormone releasing hormone. This stimulates the release of growth hormone. Number 2 is growth hormone releasing polypeptide. This stimulates the release of growth hormone releasing hormone and growth hormone as well. Number 3 is growth hormone inhibitory hormone or somatostatin. This inhibits the growth hormone release. Number 4 is thyrotropic releasing hormone. This stimulates the release of thyroid stimulating hormone. Number 5 is corticotropin releasing hormone. This stimulates the release of adrenocorticotropin. Number 6 is gonadotropin releasing hormone. This here stimulates the release of gonadotropins, follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. And the next one is prolactin inhibitory hormone. It inhibits prolactin secretion. It is believed that prolactin inhibitory hormone is dopamine. Now let's learn about hormones secreted by anterior pituitary. 6 hormones are secreted by the anterior pituitary. Number 1 is the growth hormone or somatotrophic hormone. Number 2 is thyroid stimulating hormone. Number 3 is adrenocorticotropic hormone. Number 4 is follicle stimulating hormone. Number 5 is prolactin and number 6 is luteinizing hormone. Growth hormone. The source of secretion of growth hormone is somatotropes, which are the acidophilic cells of anterior pituitary. Chemistry, blood level and daily output of growth hormone is protein in nature, having a single chain polypeptide with 191 amino acids. Basal level of growth hormone concentration in blood of normal adult is up to 300 grams per deciliter, and in children it is up to 500 nanogram per deciliter. Its daily output in adults is 0.5 to 1 milligram. Transport. Growth hormone is transported in blood by growth hormone binding proteins. Half-life and metabolism. Half-life of circulating growth hormone is about 20 minutes. It is degraded in liver and kidney. Actions of growth hormone. Growth hormone is responsible for the general growth of the body. Hypersecretion of growth hormone causes enormous growth of the body, leading to gigantism. Deficiency of growth hormone in children causes stunted growth, leading to dwarfism. Growth hormone is responsible for the growth of almost all tissues of the body, which are capable of growing. It increases the size and number of cells by mitotic division. Growth hormone also causes specific differentiation of certain types of cells like bone cells and muscle cells. Growth hormone also acts on the metabolism of all the 3 major types of foodstuffs in the body, which is proteins, lipids, and carbohydrates. On metabolism, growth hormone increases the synthesis of proteins, mobilization of lipids, and conservation of carbohydrates. Let's get in detail. On protein metabolism, growth hormone accelerates the synthesis of protein by increasing amino acid transport through cell membrane. The concentration of amino acids in the cells increases and thus the synthesis of proteins is accelerated, increasing ribonucleic acid or RNA's translation. Growth hormone increases the translation of RNA in the cells. Because of this, ribosomes are activated and more proteins are synthesized. Growth hormone can increase the RNA translation even without increasing the amino acid transport into the cells. Number 3 is it also stimulates the transcription of DNA to RNA. RNA in turn accelerates the synthesis of proteins in the cells. Growth hormone inhibits the breakdown of cellular protein. It helps in the building up of tissues. Promoting anabolism of proteins indirectly, that is, growth hormone increases the release of insulin from beta cells of islets of pancreas, which has anabolic effect on proteins. Now let's check its action on fat metabolism. Growth hormone mobilizes fats from adipose tissue. So, the concentration of fatty acids increases in the body fluids. These fatty acids are used for the production of energy by the cells. Thus, the proteins are spared. During the utilization of fatty acids for energy production, a lot of acetoacetic acid is produced by liver and it releases into the body fluids, leading to ketosis. Sometimes, excess mobilization of fat from adipose tissue causes accumulation of fat in liver. This results in fatty liver. On carbohydrate metabolism. Major action of growth hormone on carbohydrates is conservation of glucose. Effects of growth hormone on carbohydrate metabolism. Number 1. Growth hormone reduces the peripheral utilization of glucose for energy production. It is because of the formation of acetyl-CoA during the metabolism of fat influenced by growth hormone. The acetyl-CoA inhibits the glycolytic pathway. Moreover, since the growth hormone increases the mobilization of fat, more fatty acid is available for the production of energy. By this way, growth hormone reduces the peripheral utilization of glucose for energy production. Since glucose is not utilized for energy production by the cells, it is converted into glycogen and deposited in the cells. As glycogen deposition increases, the cells become saturated with glycogen. Because of this, no more glucose can enter the cells from blood. So, the blood glucose level increases. Number 4. Hypersecretion of growth hormone increases blood glucose level enormously. It causes continuous stimulation of beta cells in the islets of Langerhans in pancreas, and this increases the secretion of insulin. In addition to this, the growth hormone also stimulates beta cells directly and causes secretion of insulin. Because of the excess stimulation, beta cells are burnt out at one stage. This causes deficiency of insulin, leading to true diabetes mellitus or full-blown diabetes mellitus. This effect of growth hormone is called the diabetogenic effect. On bones. In embryonic stage, growth hormone is responsible for the differentiation and development of bone cells. In later stages, growth hormone increases the growth of the skeleton. It increases both the length as well as the thickness of the bones. In bones, growth hormone causes the synthesis and deposition of the proteins by chondrocytes and osteogenic cells. Multiplication of chondrocytes and osteogenic cells by enhancing the intestinal calcium absorption. Also, formation of new bonds by converting chondrocytes into osteogenic cells. Availability of calcium for mineralization of bone matrix. Growth hormone increases the length of the bones until epiphysis fuses with shaft, which occurs at the time of puberty. After the epiphyseal fusion, length of the bones cannot be increased. However, it stimulates the osteoblast strongly. so the bone continues to grow in thickness throughout the life. Particularly, the membranous bones such as the jawbone and the skull bone becomes thicker under the influence of growth hormone. Hypersecretion of growth hormone before the fusion of epiphysis with the shaft of the bones causes enormous growth of the skeleton, leading to the condition called gigantism. Whereas hypersecretion of growth hormone after the fusion of epiphysis with the shaft of the bone leads to a condition called acromegaly. Mode of action of growth hormone. Somatomedin. Growth hormone acts on bones, growth and protein metabolism through somatomedin secreted by liver. Growth hormone stimulates the liver to secrete somatomedin. Sometimes, in spite of normal secretion of growth hormone, growth is arrested, which leads to dwarfism due to the absence or deficiency of somatomedin. Somatomedin is defined as a substance through which growth hormone acts. Types of somatomedin are, these are mainly of two types. Number one is insulin-like growth factor 1, which is also called as somatomedin C. Number 2 is insulin-like growth factor 2. Somatomedin C, which is the insulin-like growth factor 1, acts on the bones and protein metabolism, whereas insulin-like growth factor 2 plays an important role in the growth of fetus. Growth hormone receptor. These are transmembrane receptor belonging to cytokine receptor family. Growth hormone binds with the receptor situated mainly in liver cells and forms the hormone receptor complex. Hormone receptor complex induces various intracellular enzyme pathways resulting in somatomedin secretion. Somatomedin in turn executes the action of growth hormone. Regulation of growth hormone secretion. Growth hormone secretion is altered by various factors. However, hypothalamus and feedback mechanisms play an important role in the regulation of growth hormone secretion. Growth hormone secretion is stimulated by hypoglycemia, fasting, starvation, exercise, stress and trauma, initial stages of sleep. Growth hormone secretion is inhibited by hyperglycemia, increase in free fatty acids in blood, and later stages of sleep. Now let's see the role of hypothalamus in the secretion of growth hormone. Hypothalamus regulates growth hormone secretion via three hormones, which are number 1, growth hormone releasing hormone, otherwise GHRH. It increases the growth hormone secretion by stimulating the somatotropes of anterior pituitary. Number 2 is growth hormone releasing polypeptide. It increases the release of growth hormone releasing hormone from hypothalamus and growth hormone from pituitary. Number 3 is growth hormone inhibitory hormone or somatostatin. It decreases the growth hormone secretion. Somatostatin is also secreted by delta cells of islets of Langerhans in pancreas. These three hormones are transported from hypothalamus to anterior pituitary by hypothalamo-hypophyseal portal blood vessels. And when the anterior pituitary releases growth hormone, it when acts on the liver releases somatomedin, which acts on other tissues, and these are inhibited by the negative feedback mechanism. Now let's check the feedback control. Growth hormone secretion is under negative feedback control. Hypothalamus releases growth hormone releasing hormone right here, and growth hormone releasing polypeptide, which in turn promote the release of growth hormone from anterior pituitary. Growth hormone on various tissues it acts. It also activates the liver cells to secrete somatomedin C. Now, the somatomedin C increases the release of growth hormone inhibitory hormone from hypothalamus. The growth hormone inhibitory hormone in turn inhibits the release of growth hormone from pituitary. Somatomedin also inhibits the release of growth hormone releasing polypeptide right here from the hypothalamus. It acts on pituitary directly and inhibits the secretion of growth hormone. Growth hormone inhibits its own secretion by stimulating the release of growth hormone, inhibitory hormone right here. You can see that from the hypothalamus. This type of feedback is called short loop feedback control. Similarly, growth hormone releasing hormone inhibits its own release by short loop feedback control. Role of ghrelin in the secretion of growth hormone. Ghrelin is a polypeptide hormone synthesized by epithelial cells in the fundus of stomach. It is also produced in smaller amount in hypothalamus, pituitary, kidney, and placenta. Ghrelin promotes secretion of growth hormone by stimulating somatotrophs directly. Other hormones of anterior pituitary. Number 1 is thyroid stimulating hormone. The thyroid stimulating hormone is necessary for the growth and secretory activity of the thyroid gland. It has many actions on the thyroid gland. Number 2 is adrenocorticotropic hormone. The ACTH is necessary for the structural integrity and secretory activity of adrenal cortex. Number 3 is follicle stimulating hormone. In males, follicle stimulating hormone acts along with testosterone and accelerates the process of spermiogenesis. In females, the follicle stimulating hormone causes the development of Graafian follicle from primordial follicle. It stimulates the theca cells of Graafian follicle and causes secretion of estrogen. It promotes the aromatase activity in granulosa cells, resulting in conversion of androgen into estrogen. Number 4 is luteinizing hormone. In males, luteinizing hormone is known as interstitial cell stimulating hormone because it stimulates the interstitial cells of Leydig in testes. This hormone is essential for the secretion of testosterone from Leydig cells. In females, luteinizing hormones causes maturation of vesicular follicle into Graafian follicle along with follicle stimulating hormone. Induces synthesis of androgens from theca cells of growing follicle. It is responsible for ovulation. Luteinizing hormone is also necessary for the formation of corpus luteum. Luteinizing hormone activates the secretory function of corpus luteum as well. Number 5 is prolactin. Prolactin is necessary for the final preparation of mammary glands for the production and secretion of milk. Prolactin acts directly on the epithelial cells of mammary glands and causes localized alveolar hyperplasia. Now let's learn some important applied physiology. The hyperactivity of anterior pituitary. Number 1 is gigantism. Gigantism is the pituitary disorder characterized by excess growth of the body. The subject looks like the giants with average height of about 7 to 8 feet. Causes: Gigantism is due to hypersecretion of growth hormone in childhood or in pre-adult life before the fusion of epiphysis of bone with the shaft. Hypersecretion of growth hormone is because of tumor of acidophil cells in the anterior pituitary. Signs and symptoms. Number 1 is general overgrowth of the person leads to the development of huge stature with a height of more than 7 or 8 feet. The limbs are disproportionately long. Number 2 is giants are hyperglycemic and they develop glycosuria and pituitary diabetes. Hyperglycemia causes constant stimulation of beta cells of islets of Langerhans in the pancreas and release of insulin. However, the overactivity of beta cells of Langerhans in pancreas leads to degeneration of these cells and deficiency of insulin, and ultimately diabetes mellitus is developed. Number 3 is tumor of the pituitary gland itself causes constant headache. Here you can find a person with gigantism. Number 2 is acromegaly. Acromegaly is the disorder characterized by the enlargement, thickening, and broadening of bones, particularly in the extremities of the body. What causes acromegaly? It is due to hypersecretion of growth hormone in adults after the fusion of epiphysis with shaft of the bone. Hypersecretion of growth hormone is because of tumor of acidophil cells in the anterior pituitary. Signs and symptoms are number 1, acromegalic or gorilla face, that is, face with rough features such as protrusion of supraorbital ridges, broadening of nose, thickening of lips, thickening and wrinkle formation on forehead. Here you can observe that. And prognathism, which means protrusion of lower jaw. Enlargement of hands and feet. This is how a normal hand looks like. This is how an acromegalic hand looks like. Kyphosis, which means the extreme curvature of upper back, that is thoracic spine. Number 4 is thickening of scalp. Scalp is also thrown into folds or wrinkles like bulldog scalp. Overgrowth of body hair. Enlargement of visceral organs such as lungs, thymus, heart, liver, and spleen. Also, hyperactivity of thyroid, parathyroid, and adrenal glands. The hyperglycemia and glucosuria resulting in diabetes mellitus. Hypertension, headache, visual disturbances, that is bitemporal hemianopia. Third condition, it's Cushing disease. It is also a rare disease characterized by obesity. Causes: Cushing disease develops by basophilic adenoma of adenohypophysis. It increases the secretion of adrenocorticotropic hormone, which in turn stimulates the adrenal cortex to release cortisol. Cushing's disease develops from tumor of pituitary gland also. Usually, the disorder due to pituitary causes is called Cushing disease, and when it is due to the adrenal cause, it is called Cushing syndrome. Now let's move on to the hypoactivity of anterior pituitary. Dwarfism. It is a pituitary disorder in children characterized by the stunted growth. The causes are reduction in growth hormone secretion in infancy or early childhood causes dwarfism. It occurs because of the following reasons. Number 1, tumor or chromophobes. It is a non-functioning tumor which compresses and destroys the normal cells secreting growth hormone. This is the most common cause of hyposecretion of growth hormone leading to dwarfism. Number 2 is deficiency of growth hormone releasing hormone secreted by hypothalamus. Number 3 is deficiency of somatomedin C. Number 4 is atrophy or degeneration of acidophilic cells in the anterior pituitary. Number 5 is panhypopituitarism. In this condition, there is reduction in the secretion of all the hormones of anterior pituitary gland. This type of dwarfism is associated with other symptoms due to deficiency of other anterior pituitary hormones. Signs and symptoms. Primary symptom of hypopituitarism in children is stunted skeletal growth. The maximum height of anterior pituitary dwarf at an adult age is only about 3 feet. But the proportions of different parts of the body are almost normal. Only the head becomes slightly larger in relation to the body. Number 3 is pituitary dwarfs do not show any deformity and their mental activity is normal with no mental retardation. Number 4 is reproductive function is not affected if there is only growth hormone deficiency. However, during panhypopituitarism, the dwarfs do not obtain puberty due to the deficiency of gonadotropic hormones. Hope you have understood the video. Like, subscribe and press the bell button for more videos. Thank you. Thanks for watching.